warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, I will tell you about some information about news. Okay, what do you imagine when you hear the word news text? Surely you imagine newspaper, magazine, or news show on television, right? Nowadays, news text can be obtained easily and can be found anywhere. Not only in newspaper, but you can also look for it on news portals or web page on internet. However, do you know what news text is? So, what should be in the news text? Well, in the following description, all these questions will be answered. So, let's look carefully at my explanation in this video. First of all, let's understand the meaning of news text. What do you think is news text? News text is the text that contains all events that occur in the world. News texts are usually distributed through various media, such as newspaper, magazine, radio, television, internet, or other media. However, not all events can become news. As the world develops, there are several criteria that are believed to make an event worthy of being conveyed to reader or listener. There are several criteria for events that can be made into news, namely actual, happened recently, factual, based on the fact, important, interesting, and useful for society. For example, we must have heard news about the tsunami disaster in Aceh that occurred in 2004. According to the criteria, this news no longer has actual value. This is because tsunami that hit Aceh has long passed. Meanwhile, the second criterion is that the news must be factual. A fiction such as a film or fiction cannot be made into news. This is because it doesn't start from event that actually happened. Then, a news text should be prepared using the 5W and 1H formula. Itself are several basic questions which include what, who, where, when, why, and how. News is delivered in an actual manner and based on existing fact. This means that all the information we get from the news text is current of event and is true. That way, the reader community can always know about event that occur somewhere. After knowing the meaning and several elements of news text, in this section we will discuss in full the structure of biographical text. The structure is function as framework for forming news text. Apart from that, as explained above, the structure of news text has an important role because it can unite various news elements into a whole. So, here are three news text structure. They are important to pay attention to before presenting an event or even as news, including first, news orientation. In this section, a writer who wants to create a news text can explain initial information about the event. The purpose of news orientation is to enable readers to know what information or event will be read in the next part of the text. Therefore, the news orientation must be prepared in interesting way and be able to provide an overview of the information written. This determines whether the reader continue reading the news text or not. Second is even. The second part of structure of news text that you need to pay attention to is even. In this section, the author can tell and describe even or occurrence to the reader. Stories and explanation can be present in detail and completely and in accordance with time or chronological order. In this section, the author can explain questions related to the why and how elements. Therefore, apart from conveying information, relate to even in detail sequentially and validly. Writers must also have the ability to write good stories so that readers can enjoy the news presented. And the last is news source. The third part of structure of news text is including or mentioning the source of the news. In general news sources usually come from the interview process and reporting. Some activity carried out by reporter or news writer. Reporters can place the news source section at the beginning of the news or at the end of the news. Okay, thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.